can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Krishna Surendra of HR Cloud. And Krishna, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. Since this is part of the top SaaS series, some other really good interviews to check out. The co-founder of Zapier, Wade Foster, came on and talked about growing Zapier, which was interesting. One of the co-founders of Pipedrive came on. At that point, Krishna, they were around 10,000 customers. Now I think they're over 100,000, so they've grown quite a bit. That was an interesting story. One of the founders of Doorloop also, I can't remember, I think they raised over $150 million and they grew quickly to like 200 people in a short order. So it was interesting to hear that amount of growth. You'll have to fact check me. I can't remember. I'm off the top of my head there. But anyways, impressive start to a company and founder on what they do. So check those out and more on inspiredinsider.com. This episode is brought to you by Rise25. At Rise25, we help businesses connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. We do that in a few ways. One, we're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. So we do the strategy, the accountability, and the full execution and production. Number two, we are an easy button for a company's gifting. So we make gifting and staying top of mind your clients, partners, and prospects easy and affordable. So all you do is give us the addresses and we'll do everything out. Everything else, we'll curate the gifts. We'll send them out over time. It's all your branding and everything like that. So we also will get people on podcasts as well. So Krishna, in general, we call ourselves the magic elves that run in the background to make it stress-free for a company so they can build amazing relationships. For me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. And I always look at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way to profile the people and companies I admire on my podcast and send them sweet treats in the mail. So you can check everything out at rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I am excited to introduce Krishna Surendra. He's the CEO of HR Cloud. HR Cloud is a leading HR tech company transforming how organizations onboard, engage, and recognize their employees. HR Cloud is an all-in-one HR software to power really every stage of the employee journey. And Krishna, I'll have you tell us more, but thanks for joining me. Just talk to people a little bit about HR Cloud and what you do. And there's a video version if you're listening. I'm going to pull it up so we can check it out.
Sure. So yeah, you summed it up pretty much. We are an all-in-one HR software, primarily focused on US businesses. And what we add value to our customers is the way we can customize the solution for every customer's needs, as opposed to a cookie cutter solution, which is offered by general HR providers. We offer a solution where you can completely customize the software for your needs, and we can automate your entire HR workflow from hiring, onboarding, any changes toward the employee lifecycle, and also offboarding an employee when they leave the organization. So essentially, customize, automate the workflows. On top of it, we have a separate brand which is called Workmates, where we do three things, which is employee engagement, communication, and rewards.
Talk about that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
How does that work?
Yeah, definitely. So this is a solution, as I mentioned, which does three things. So imagine if you want to get a pulse of your employees. How do they feel about the company, or the manager, or the organization? We have a way where we can create communities just like LinkedIn, but for your company. And we have a provision to send a NPS survey where you can get the pulse of an employee. How do they feel about the company, the manager, or the organization? On top of it, we have a way where we can streamline communication, not just top down, but bottom up. Top down would be typically more like where you have a large organization where you send a company newsletter where everybody gets to know what's going on in a company, like an announcement of sort. That's one way. The other way is we can have these communication parts where every department or every location can have their own communication happening within a channel or a community. So we can do that, where you get two-way communication between managers and as well as employee, where you can have a way to capture the information from the employee and you can hear their voice, right? So that way, if you have a problem, you'll get to know directly from them. And you can also have a way where you can measure the engagement. So if for any reason, if the employees are not engaged, then there's no reason for them to be much more productive when it comes to their work, because they're completely disengaged. With our solution, you can make sure that you can engage the employees and then listen to them, get their feedback, and then do spot recognition. So as a manager, if I see my developer doing a good job, I have my teams as an example. We have a team set up in Croatia, Europe, and Vietnam. If somebody does a real good job, so I as a manager can create a shout out, hey, this person did an amazing job. Thank you very much. You helped me close this deal. And I can create it using the platform. And everybody within the organization, they will know that, so-and-so did a good job and he got a kudo from the CEO. And on top of it, if your culture or company lets you do the rewards, so you can also give them a gift card and then as a point through the platform, and then they can redeem it for a gift card, like an Amazon gift card or Nike or anything like that.
I wanted to hear about that. Yeah, from a reward standpoint, what's have you found does well and performs well?
Yeah, definitely, because you don't traditionally the performance reviews happens every year. That's how usually it is done, or semi-annually or quarterly. But you don't have to wait for the entire performance evaluation cycle to happen to get a bonus. Through our solution, as a manager, you can reward your employee for a good job that he has done, and then reward him for a bonus point. And these bonuses are not huge like a bonus, right? This is like more like a gift card, $500 points that could be redeemed for one of these gift cards. And you don't need an HR or a CEO approval for this. You as a manager should have a budget to keep your employees engaged, and you can just do
cool.
it at your disposal.
No, I love that. Yeah. I noticed in the front of this, it says 5-day Hawaii vacation. Can you send me for that? And then it skips to the gift card. Wait, go back to the Hawaii vacation one.
I think if you refresh, it'll loop.
Yeah, that's great. I want to hear why HR, right? Because you're a computer. I know your background's in computer science. Mm-hmm. You could probably code up and create pretty much anything you want. Why HR?
There's two reasons. Obviously, I'm the co-founder for this company, and before I became a CEO, co-founder of HR Cloud, I was part of another company called NeoGov. That's a company who's a market leader in the public sector in a government business. I worked as a director of engineering, developer, lead manager, tech lead, etc., and then director of engineering before the company was sold to a private equity group. And then I had a choice. I could just continue as a director of engineering and pursue my journey there, or start something new with the existing knowledge and that I've gained over the years. So that's when my founder, he started HR Cloud in 2016, 17. And then I switched over as a CTO, Chief Technology Officer. And I've learned a lot. So I essentially built the product from the ground up with my team in Vietnam and Croatia, with the knowledge that I've gained from the previous company. And then we added products, and we essentially got the company from literally 0 customers all the way to 300 plus customers right now. And we serve in various industries. So we'll get to that later during customer testimonials and case studies. So we started with technology companies. So including us, we are a tech company with 4 different locations, 3+ locations. So we are using it internally, and we are building the product. We're learning it, and they're using it. As we learn, we added more customers, and then we learn from the customers. That's one thing I cherish. I like to say we do a real good job when it comes to customer feedback, and then making sure we don't wait a long time to build on those. So we will make sure that we will develop those features if it makes sense to other customers. And then as we grow, then we try to upsell these feature functionality to other customers. And that's how we ended up adding, like, I mean, if you go to the website, we started with employee onboarding as the first product. And as we got few customers and they asked, hey, why don't we have recruitment? Because we like to have recruitment and onboard in one product suite. Totally makes sense. So then we started developing this recruitment module, and then performance evaluation, which is quite natural. And how do you track vacation, etc. So we did the vacation module and engagement as well.
So just say that more. So you have recruit. What was the evolution of the features again?
Yeah,
Repeat that.
if you could minimize it, if you don't mind, do control
Make it
minus
smaller.
minus. Yeah, or in larger screen. Yeah. Now, if you go to products,
Yep.
yes, we started with the employee onboarding. That's the first product we started, and then recruitment we added on top of it, and performance evaluation,
Recruitment,
human resource, yes,
performance. I
performance
gotcha.
evaluation. HRIS stands for, it's a basic employee database, so it's
Mm-hmm.
an essential module for all. It connects everything together. And time off is a vacation tracking module. And offboarding, it's an opposite of employee onboarding. You welcome them to the organization, and you, when they exit the organization, make sure everything's done seamlessly. You do the exit surveys, collect their feedback, make sure they have everything that they need when they leave the company, etc. And time clock is a way to capture the time and attendance.
So people like, obviously in this remote world, especially, they can kind of clock in and have
Clock and
like
clock
when
out.
they have flexibility in their schedule, they can do that when they start working.
That's right.
What's interesting is I'm wondering, how do you keep track of the next module or features, right? Because all of this takes a lot of time, energy, and effort. And
Oh,
then
yeah, totally.
keeping track of it, but then also how do you decide to release the next one? Because each of these, this sounds simple, like when you go through it, oh yeah, we just released this, but each one of these is not easy to, and then you got to deploy it, and then you got to get people
Maintain it.
using it. So
Yeah.
how do you keep track, first of all, I'm just curious, is there a place where if a customer asks for something, you log it there, and there, I don't know, there's various systems people have. How do you log this ongoing list of potential features and modules?
So there's two ways. I mean, not two ways, but there's a couple of ways, right? So one, definitely from the customers. So with our customers, we run these regular surveys, and oftentimes customer support manager and account manager, they will talk to the customer during renewal and then anytime in the middle. On top of it, I do talk to the customers. I get their feedback. What do they like? What is not working? What is working? What could we do better, etc. And then I look at the competition too. What's going on in HR world? What other apps are missing? What makes sense for us to add it to our platform? That's the second one. And the third one is the sales. During a sales process, if a prospect looks at the website, hey, you have all these modules. Why are you missing payroll? Sure. I mean, we can't do everything, but yeah, that's a feedback that we often get. And that we don't have a payroll module, and that it's a conscious decision that we made because payroll itself, it deals with a lot of compliance and headaches. And we thought it's better to offer integrations with an existing payroll vendor rather than building our own. And that's an option we provide our customers. If you hover over integrations, you can see the list of companies that we integrated with. So these are
Yep.
some of the payroll vendors we integrated.
ADP, we have Intuit, we have
ADP.
Paylocity. Actually, I had the founder of Paylocity on,
Oh, you know him.
Steve Sarowitz. It was a great interview. People can check that out. And
Okay.
then there's a
Okay.
lot of other integrations. I mean, that's a whole nother
Topic. Yeah.
animal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but it's interesting. I mean, it's like some people think, well, you're getting enough requests, but you got to stick to what you're best at, I guess, too.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we did some mistakes during development, right? So initially we started onboarding, but then later on we jumped into the engagement module. We started to do a lot more. We tried to be the next Slack, but the market wasn't ready. So sure, how would you differentiate between Teams versus Slack versus what we have? And then we pivoted back to onboarding because we had customers using onboarding. Let's just double down and get more customers. And then as we got more customers started using it, COVID happened. And obviously people were working remote. Everybody's working remote. And especially for a company like us who have offices in 3 to 4 different locations, it's really hard to get them connected. And we thought, this platform which is working for us, why don't we try to push it more harder? And that's when people started leveraging Zoom as an example to connect your workforce, and then solution like Workmates, where you can use it to reward and recognize your employees, and you can have the communication going back and forth from the top down and bottom up within the organization. And we got very good traction on that. And that's how we listen to the customers and then to the market, and if it makes sense, invest our time and effort in developing a product.
I'm curious, Krishna, just to get a little granular.
Okay.
Where do you log all these things? I mean, you may be talking to people, the salespeople talk to people, there's customer inquiries via email. What do you use a certain project management software? Like, what do you use to keep track of everything?
It's three ways. We use Jira internally, Atlassian Jira. It's a project management tool that we use to log the requirements. On top of it, we use a variety of tools from Asana, Google Sheets, and Google Docs. Teams is something we use for communication. Anytime something, I get feedback from, let's say, a salesperson. Hey, we are missing this feature. This prospect is asking for this. I will look at it. Obviously, we don't have that. And the next thing is to connect with my product team and let them know, hey, do you have this in the roadmap? Yes, well and good. So we can let the sales team know, hey, we'll get it in the next 2 months. So you can let the prospect know and promise to buy, promise to pay, right? Once we deliver, you can pay us.
Promise to pay, exactly.
And the second one would
People
be,
can say they want it and then be like, you know what? Now I have to pay for it. Maybe not. So that's a key piece for sure.
Yeah, one thing which we learned, again, there are lessons to be learned here too, because sometimes during sales process, we promise something because we offer customizability and customers think that we can do everything like Salesforce. Obviously, any company, they cannot satisfy every need of a customer. So there are certain limitations. But we'll have to wait, and if it makes sense, then we'll definitely add it to the roadmap, and we can even expedite things. But if it is something specific for a client, then we have to take a call. Either let them know we're sorry, we'll give you the money back for this module because we can't do it, or we will work out a solution as a workaround.
How do you decide? Okay, so you get all this feedback internally, externally from potential clients, competitors, whoever. How do you decide, okay, this is the next module we're going to dedicate the resources and all the time to? Now, I don't know if you want to tell a specific example. Like when you went from the new onboarding to the next one, what was the decision? Like, how do you make that decision? Because like you said, you can just double down on what you have a lot of stuff here already, then you're probably, improving that in addition to launching this new thing. So I don't know if you want to talk on the launch of a new module specifically and how you actually decided to launch it.
Yeah, definitely. It's more than gut feeling. It's based on the customer feedback and also the sales prospects. If people are asking for a specific module or functionality, then we'll keep a log of it. So we lost so many deals because obviously, let's just say we didn't have an applicant tracking hiring module, right? So we lost X amount of deals. So we lost like 10 deals because we didn't have it. Okay, then we'll check with existing customers. Do they have the same feeling? Because if there is an opportunity for us to build this module, can we sell it to them? Yeah, then we get the customer feedback, we get the sales feedback, and then we'll obviously look at competitors in the space, so to understand, how it works, etc. Then it's a decision. Okay, do we have the bandwidth to take another module, or before we can, work on a new module, we have to see if there are any customer commitments that we have to meet and deliver. Once everything's checked, then it's natural that sure, we should definitely work on a new feature module. But it has its own disadvantages. Advantages are sure you can close more deals, you can upsell the new product to your existing customer base, but then you have to maintain it, right? It's not one set and done. So once you develop it, you have to go back and then keep improving, keep maintaining. If you're willing to take that risk, then yeah, we can go ahead with that.
Yeah, I mean, do you pre-sell the module sometimes to existing customers or no? Like, or do you wait till it comes out? You had mentioned something before, like we say, hey, we're going to build this. I don't know if you offer, oh, you get this
Oh,
beta
pre-sale.
pricing or something because if
Yeah.
you, yeah,
Mhm.
how does that work?
Yeah, if I understood correctly. So if we don't have a specific functionality, I mean, most likely it's not a new module, but rather, let's say, we're missing AI integration, as an example, or you missing a resume parsing. We'll promise, I mean, we will make sure that we work on a statement of work, and then make sure both parties sign off on that. Okay, this is the scope of the project. It's going to take so much time, and it will be delivered it in 2 months, 3 months, and then whatever the cost may be. And if both parties agree to it, then we'll put it in a sprint. That's how. I mean, if without that, it's going to be like he said something, she said something, right?
Is it
So
kind of like you're creating a customized proposal for someone,
exactly.
but that ends up basically funding it for other people that may want it, but that specific person is
Yeah,
maybe more urgent for that for their needs
exactly.
to
Yeah,
put
we're
it to the
basically
top of the
expediting
line.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're moving
Yeah.
it to the top of the backlog.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, listen, if they wanted that bad and they pay for it, then you'll prioritize it for sure.
Yeah,
And then other people benefit from it as well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. That's great. You know, what's interesting about this, and at what point it seems like Workmates is kind of like a whole other side of the company. When
Exactly.
did that come into play?
Um, in fact, this idea came. The inception was in back in 2015 when we were working for the previous organization. My founder, he was the then CEO. He had this idea where we want to build this application because so the thought process, you can always sell HR solutions, but the audience is all about HR people, right? So administrators, HR users, CHRO, etc. They can always switch providers easily. If you get a new HR, then yeah, he will bring his own product suite from the previous company because he has expertise over that. Whereas if you try to build a product for employees, so employees are the ones who is going to use it. The majority of the people in the company are all employees, the bottom level people. So if you can build a product for employees to use at a day-to-day basis, then it's going to be much sticky and difficult to replace. And obviously, if you have the buy-in for employees, then you can obviously sell in more products. That was the idea. That's how it started. But then it's hard, right? So if we build something, then there's no adoption, and the market isn't ready because back then, like 10 years ago, everybody's working from offices, and then you don't have to have a communication tool because they meet them in person. As the remote workforce, employees started to work remotely in different countries, then it's hard for them to communicate. You need more than a chat application to connect people. Uh, they have to align with the company culture, company values, and make sure they're more engaged and retained so that you can improve the employee retention. That's how this product is going to help you as an organization keep your employees motivated, keep them engaged, recognize their work, and then make sure you retain them for longer periods.
Krishna, I want to talk about clients, right? So thanks for going through. I mean, it's a lot of work. Each one of these modules there's a lot that goes into these, but I want to talk about the client piece. Early on, how did you decide? And I'm looking at the webpage here, right? We see solutions. You serve healthcare and let me go back. Healthcare and education and manufacturing and food and beverage and construction and retail. Were there certain industries like on the get-go that you focus in on before expanding, or how did you kind of focus in on the clients, getting more clients, customers onto the platform?
And no, there was not a specific focus. The initial focus was to get customers, right? So primarily in the private sector, in the commercial space. So we got customers initially from in technology space. There were like Zendesk was one of them. So initial days, Zendesk was one of our first customers, and after that, while we're trying to expand, so we had this opportunity to work with ADP as a payroll partner, and ADP referred as one of their biggest customers back then, who was looking for a onboard product which works with ADP. And ADP's onboard back then in 2016, 2017 was not up to par compared to what we have. And we built this integration with ADP. We are one of the marketplace vendors, and we were the first ones in the onboard space to integrate with ADP in the ADP marketplace. And we pretty much have to build the integration from the ground up with ADP, and then make sure that the customer's needs are met. And that particular customer, they're in the, I believe, utility manufacturing space where they onboard people, seasonal workers at scale, like thousands of people. They just onboard every month, and then they offboard
if there's
them.
not a good solution for that, that'd be literally
Exactly. And then they have to
impossible.
offboard them. Yeah, and they have to offboard them once the work is done. So it's seasonal. And then next year or next season, you rehire them again. So that kind of a bulk onboarding, offboarding, and rehiring, there's no solution in the marketplace back then, and we are one of them. On top of it, this particular company operates in multiple states in the US. I believe they work closely in 48 states in the US, if I'm not wrong. And every state have their own onboarding compliance forms on top of I-9 form, W-4. You have to have the state-specific forms that you need to maintain, and there is no other solution. So we are one of the vendors who have this capability to create custom forms. So basically, you don't need a DocuSign for that. We can just do it within our onboard suite.
Why
So
didn't
that's a very good
why
thing,
didn't
yeah.
other companies like ADP integrate that? I won't name the company, but we used
Yeah.
someone, it wasn't ADP, and that's the reason we left, is because it was so clunky to onboard a new person. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is insane. It was like 72 steps, right? And
Yeah.
so we left. So were other companies, or maybe there was an exclusive, I don't know, but why aren't
The
all the other
focus is
companies just
different.
using it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think if you consider payroll companies, right? The payroll companies, the biggest strength is payroll, HRIS, HRMS modules. And they have a lot of customers using the payroll. They're not going to leave to another vendor because of payroll, because they have check, right? So you have recruitment, performance, onboard, everything's there, but they don't do a good job in all of them. They only do a good job in certain modules, not everything. And as a company, we started with onboarding first as a module. First product that we built is onboarding. And we have had experience working on this particular module from the previous company as well. So with that expertise, we built this. It's a highly customizable product offering. And you can basically remove DocuSign, HelloSign. You don't have to have them. And we have it. And we have a way to create these custom fillable PDFs, and then we can have workflows, any number of workflows, right? For 50 states, you can have 50 different workflows to curate for your needs. On top of it, if you have international employees, so you can have a workflow specific for US employees versus European employees versus Asian employees. You can do it that way. And multilingual support too, right? So if somebody from China were to be onboarded, you want to make sure you welcome them in Cantonese or Mandarin, as an example. We can do that through our system.
I'm curious, Krishna, a lot that's someone's experience, their experience initially, even with the onboarding. Do you see there's certain mistakes that companies make in this onboarding? I mean, you're handling some of the technical details, but I'm just in general. It could be technical, or it could be just stuff that you see companies doing in the onboarding of team members that over the years, because you've probably seen a lot of things go wrong. So what are some of the mistakes people make or companies make when they're onboarding staff?
Usually the biggest mistake would be if the company do not have a process currently that they have in place for onboarding their new users. No software can solve that, right? You have to have something in your mind, the map out. Okay, first step is to add them to the system, send them a welcome email, add them to your G Suite or Office Suite, and then have lunch with them, sign these forms, etc. If you don't have this process documented in your mind or on a Word document, then no system in the world can help you. That's the first mistake. And the second mistake would be to look at the task completion rate. Everything that gets sent out to the user, we create a task internally, and the HR administrators should make sure all the tasks are completed on time. I mean, there's no pending tasks. If something is pending, then obviously you're not doing a good job efficiently onboarding a user. So they don't look at the analytics to back their process to make sure everybody is finishing their tasks on time, then it is bound to fail. And the third thing, which happens rarely, would be the case where we have a new customer, new client. They start using our product. They're in the middle of onboarding their solution with our customer support team, and for any reason the HR quits, and you have a new HR person. He doesn't know what's going on, so he wants to implement his own process within our system. Then we have to delay it even further. That's a weird case, but that does happen quite often at times.
I want to point out, no, thanks for sharing that. That is really valuable. I'll point out a couple of resources based on that. One of my favorite, Joey Coleman, who I featured on the podcast before, wrote two books, Never Lose a Customer Again and Never Lose an Employee Again. He does talk about that kind of onboarding journey. And the other one is in the process piece. So I love, and I've had the founder of Sweet Process on it. So they basically are a documentation
Uh-huh.
SOP software. And we use them. I know a lot of other people use them. So like having that process. So like
Yeah,
even if
you
it's
have to document it.
even as the SOP to go into HR Cloud, enter them in, like I mean that stuff still has to happen, right?
Happens
So
somewhere. Yes.
yeah. So I want to give a shout to both of those people because that's kind of those pieces, some of the pieces in the puzzle, like you mentioned.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a precursor to everything. Yeah.
I do want to talk about a couple examples, just to give people an idea more in depth in what you do, and because you have so many different, um, you know, industries that you help with. So maybe we'll take a couple different ones. There's an education one. There's also a big retailer one. There's a utility one. Um, which one should we start with?
Let's start with the utility one. The company that we were talking about is called Osmos Utilities. As I mentioned, this is one of the customers that we closed back in 2018. Interesting use cases, they're not from ADP, but they're from UKG, Ultimate Software Company. Now it's part of the UKG group. So there were a couple of issues. I mean, similar use case, classic example of a company who's using a payroll, which is not satisfying the company's needs, requirements, and they're looking for a vendor who can do that. And we definitely could address these issues. But the problem is we did not have an integration with UKG, I mean, Ultimate Software. The issue being that they don't have a marketplace like ADP, and there's no way for a developer like us, company like us, to build an integration. And Osmos is kind enough to let us use their test account, production test account, to add employees and try to build an integration with the limited capability that they had. So Osmos, yeah. So we built an integration with Osmos, and then they were happy with how the data flows from us to UKG. The other thing is, which is unique for Osmos, is they hire these utility workers. They don't have they're deskless workers. They're always working on the field. And the way they onboard users is not using a computer, but rather using a tablet, something like a Panasonic Toughbook or Surface tablet, where they go on the field and then they hire these employees at scale with just the tablet. And back then, we didn't have a solution that would work where we offer kiosk mode. They call it kiosk mode. So we had to develop this functionality called kiosk mode, where me as a hiring manager, who can pass on the tablet to the new hire, and then he can onboard right there. So basically, if I'm a worker who's getting hired, so I can fill in my information using the tablet. I can e-sign all the forms, and then I can upload my driver's license as part of the I-9 process, e-verify process. I can upload that documentation, visa, whatever it needs to be collected. I can finish it. Once I'm done with my onboarding task, I can hand over the tablet to the manager, and he can move on to the next hire. They really like the solution, and they're still using our solution. Then they're one of our best customers till date, and every time we have to get a reference, they're always there for us to give a positive word for us. Yeah.
There's a lot that went into that. There was some I'm curious from you said the kiosk mode. Couldn't they just pull up your website on the computer, on the tablet, and just go navigate?
They can.
You're saying
I'll
if
tell you the
if
problem.
there was an internet or something, is that?
Yeah, exactly. There's two things. So they can open up the website, but then they don't. Obviously, it's a tablet. They don't have the keyboard and mouse unless you have a laptop that you can carry. It's too hard to carry. Instead, they just have a tablet. They can use the touchpad to do it. And then obviously internet connectivity, as you mentioned. Yes, since they work outside the desk, outside the offices, they have to make sure for any reason if there is no internet connectivity, You can capture the data and then make sure you process them offline. And the third thing, the kiosk mode is special because you want to log in as a user, as an employee. In this case, you're hiring, and make sure he doesn't gain access to the admin as an administrator. So you have to be really careful there, because I can run away with a laptop, then you're essentially be done with. So this mode will allow you where you can log in as an employee. You only have access to you as an employee for any reason. Something bad were to happen, this laptop were to be gone, you rest assured that your data is still safe, because he just accessed the system and he is uploading his information and do not have access to the entire system.
And then what about in the case, first of all, I just want to also say, I love navigating around your website just to see, because you've obviously thought these pieces through. So I love when I went to Workmates, if you saw the video before, some of the things that are on there, for example, you can go to recognize, engage, and the HR operations, even going to the recognize, there's the rewards, the company culture. And I just learned a lot just from navigating around your website to see what things you have there for companies. So that was really interesting. Talk about the education company. How do they use it?
Yeah, sure. There's this education company that we closed last year. I believe they use ADP currently, and they have a similar need where they have to onboard these employees at scale in various states. So you have to make sure the product supports multi-state forms and customizable workflows for every specific state. And we have solution to handle most of the requirements, but there is one unique situation where they hire these workers who are younger people, because they're hiring somebody in their 20s and they don't use email that much. They are into texting. And the best way to engage these workers or make sure they get notified is not using email, but rather text messages. And we do not have a way to send text messages through the system. We have a way to notify them using the mobile app or emails. Again, the classic example where we know we solve 80% of these use case, this 20% we cannot, and we have to agree with the customer, and they have a strict deadline. So we close this, I think in October. They have like a month and a half for us to go live, implement the solution. On top of it, we have to implement this SMS notification functionality. And we had a candid word with the customer. So this is our roadmap. So if you want us to do, you have to sign it, sure, and then we can build it. Let's say in 4 weeks. Yeah, and then fast forward. So our development team in Croatia, my architect and product team, they really excel. So they work with the client to gather the requirements and then develop the product, working overnight and weekends, and we delivered the solution. And then we were able to provide the solution to the customer where they were able to onboard these new hires come January, and when they do the hiring in January for these staff members for these colleges. And that was a very good success story where both parties are happy. We didn't burn ourselves developing the feature. At the same time, customers were able to use the product on time and were able to hire these staff members.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty incredible, because if you think of it, there's some companies, that's their sole company that they've worked on for a decade just to do SMS. And then in 4 months, you create this module that does that. Do you ever consider, is it always like, we're going to build this from scratch? Is there ever things like, well, you know what, maybe we'll take a current existing platform and integrate it into, or is that too risky if that breaks?
In this case, in this case, actually 4 weeks, not even 4 months. It's even faster.
4 weeks. Oh, 4 weeks.
Yeah,
oh, geez.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a build versus buy decision, right? So, sure, we did have instances in the past where we had to build a product, let's say a chat application. So, can we build it or get an off-the-shelf solution which you can easily use? Obviously, it didn't go well initially because we went with an off-the-shelf solution which worked initially. But then as more users started using the chat application, the licensing and the cost did not make any sense. It's going to be cheaper, much cheaper if we would develop it in-house. I mean, that's a lesson to be learned. And then, and then we ended up building it in-house. Yeah, definitely. Every decision, every product that we have to build or leverage, develop, we will make that build versus buy decision and do the pros and cons and evaluate multiple vendors and then pick the right one. One more example is we are developing AI adoption within the company, and we use ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, and internally for development, marketing, etc. And when it comes to using AI within the product, we can use one of these, but we have to ensure that what helps us in the long run. Cost, you have to consider the product capability, costs, and long run. Is the company going to be there for the next 3 years? So once all these metrics are checked, then we will make a decision to choose which one makes more sense for us.
Yeah, I did see some chart, Krishna, even with the different, AI platforms, and the cost for each of them varies with that computing technology, right? And it's always changing too.
Yeah.
My last question, first of all, thank you. Thanks for sharing your journey. People can check out hrcloud.com to learn more and all the stuff that we've been looking at. My last question is just mentors. Some of the mentors you've had professionally in business, they could also be, not just personal mentors, but distant mentors, like if there's books or things like that you've learned from. Who are some of your mentors throughout your business journey?
Yeah, definitely. One of them would be my founder, Damir Davidovich. So he's somebody I look up to. So I just try to be like him. He's a product person. He made sure that to identify the skill set in me that, I was a developer from the beginning, get-go. But then I worked closely with him 10 years ago. So then I got the product skills, what it takes to develop a product. And then another mentor would be my co-founder, Blaine. So he's more about an operation. Everything is about operation numbers. So you can't just build a product without thinking about the numbers, operations. So you have to have a balance between the vision and the numbers, what it takes to build it, whether there is an ROI or not. So I look up to these two people within the company. On top of that, I have a few other friends from other companies. So one of them, his name is Siva. He works at ADP. I look up to him as a mentor, and my boss from MySpace, the previous company I worked for, his name is Manik. So he's really good. So he will just let you know what you get. If I mess up something, he will just tell you on your face, Krishna, come on, step up, man. Act like a CEO. You're acting like a CTO or a developer. No, step up. Ultimately, it's your decision. You have to do whatever it takes to make the company profitable. So these individuals I definitely look up to. And the books, there are a couple of books, definitely. So one is 5 a.m. Club. I believe Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. Club is something.
Oh, 5 a.m. Club. Yeah.
Ever since I read this book, there's a change in the way I operate, essentially. So I get up early in the morning. I try to be at 5, and when you start the day early, then you have enough time to take care of your personal stuff, be it reading or exercising or meditating, whatever, and then get to the work stuff as well. Yeah, 5 a.m. Club. And the second one, obviously the Think and Grow Rich and Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those are some of them.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that. I just bought it just on your recommendation on my Audible. So that's awesome. I love that. Think and Grow Rich is also a classic one. I think Robin Sharma he's got a couple other ones out there.
The monk that sold his Ferrari. I didn't read it yet, but yeah, that's in my wish list.
I think I listened to it on the audio cassette tape back in the day. If that ages me a little bit, but first of all, thank you. Everyone check out hrcloud.com or episodes of the podcast, and we'll see everyone next time. Krishna, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.